a congressman, this is incredibly rare. A congressman has been sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison for insider trading. And this never happens, but 2 years in prison for insider trading. Former Republican lawmaker, Representative Stephen Buyer, was sentenced to 22 months in prison, stemming from 4 counts of securities fraud related to a pair of insider trading schemes in 2018 and 2019. The sentence was handed down by U.S. District Judge Richard Berman for Southern District of New York. It was less than 36 months imprisonment requested. It was less than the 36 months requested by prosecutor. Buyer, 64, was first elected to Congress in 1993. In a statement, the U.S. attorney said that Buyer abused positions of trust for illicit personal gain, and today he faced justice for his acts. According to the indictment, Buyer misappropriated material, non-public information that he learned as a consultant and used that information to place timely, profitable securities trades in brokerage accounts in his own name and the names of others. Now, here's why I both celebrate this. I think this is how it works. I mean, how it should work. A congressperson has abused their position. They've abused their information. They have taken that information and used it in order to screw over your average citizens who lose out as you exploit your situation to enrich yourself. I endorse and I'm excited that this guy is seeing some justice for that. It's incredibly rare that your ruling elite see any kind of quote unquote justice for that behavior. But here's the other thing I would like to point out. This is incredibly common from our Congress, from our ruling elite. And yet, here's one guy that goes to prison. It is so rare. And here's just how common this is. And this was even published by Politico, which they're a neoliberal shill factory. So pretty amazing that they actually published this. But Politico says lawmakers made hundreds of stock transactions during the pandemic, Watchdog finds, and this began even before you or I knew the pandemic was going to be significant, and maybe even before we knew it existed at all, before anyone had used the word pandemic. And this article is from 2020. So this is the first year of the pandemic. Republican and Democratic lawmakers, or was it 2019? I think it was 2020. Democratic lawmakers have bought and sold stocks hundreds of times throughout the pandemic. Some of them lucrative moves to invest in industries buoyed by the crisis and divest from sectors like restaurants and hotels that have tanked, according to a new analysis from the Campaign Legal Center. Starting in February 2nd, and remember, February 2nd of that year was when there were a couple of people saying this could be a pandemic. There's this thing, there's this coronavirus, but almost no one was acting like it'd be a big deal. I remember that I had a book, my last book launched. I had a book opening, basically performance speech in New York City. At the Strand bookstore, and it was packed, and it was March 8th of that year. And we were talking about COVID, where people were like, this pandemic thing's kind of weird, huh? But we all got together for that, and it sold out. And and I made a joke at the beginning of the show, if you have COVID, please leave. And everyone laughed. And we used Purell. That was, people would Purell their hands after they shook hands. And that was the extent of it. No one thought it would be that big a deal. So that was March. So these trades by Congress are going haywire at the beginning of February, a month before that, when most of the public has very little information about this. From February 2nd to April 8th of this year, the nonpartisan watchdog group found 12 senators made a combined 127 purchases or sales, while 37 House representatives made 1,358 transactions. Okay, so obviously that's old news, but I wanted to bring you that to just show you how common it is. How fucking common it is that our government officials are insider trading. They do it constantly. And they try and do it in various ways where there's legal loopholes. They can claim they didn't know that this was going to happen, that. So they have their various ways of trying to get around the insider trading law. And it almost always works, except for this one poor sad sack of shit, Representative Baier. Again, I'm not saying he shouldn't be prosecuted or anything like that. I'm not saying, hey, he deserves to be free. I'm saying, what about all the others? Let's pick it up on them. But of course, we know that's not how this system works, right? This guy is the exception that proves the rule. This is how the system works. These people are incredibly wealthy. They got into office because they're incredibly wealthy. The person who spends the most on the campaign wins around 90% of the time. It's over 90 in the Senate, and it's like around 80 in the House. And here's the other thing. No one ever talks about this. No, I have yet to hear anyone else say this. The two people who spend the most on the campaign win in the federal government 100% of the time. 100%.